Welcome back to the Diamond Roots Baseball Podcast, the show where we take deep dives into the history of baseball in Cobb County, the stories, the people, and the moments that have made this area one of the most influential baseball communities in the entire country. I'm your host, Peter Jazeranak. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Dave Harden. If you look back at baseball, Dave, in Cobb County, there are very few people who have experienced success at every single level of the game the way our guest today has. He's a Little League World Series champion, a multi-time travel ball World Series champion, and the number 54 pick overall in the MLB Draft as a senior in high school. He followed that up with an incredible college career at the University of North Carolina. He earned some ACC accolades as a Tar Heel before once again being selected high in the draft and spending multiple seasons with the Colorado Rockies organization. If that wasn't enough, baseball for one lifetime, he's now representing some of the biggest names in multiple professional sports, along with broadcasters that we all recognize. He's a graduate of my alma mater, Walton High School, and today he represents a fellow Walton alum as a big-time baseball agent. And it really is my absolute pleasure to welcome Keith Grunewald to the show. Keith, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm super excited, man. This is awesome.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk about baseball in Cobb County and East Marietta and East Cobb and Walton, all kinds of wonderful things.
It's I like literally I was telling you all just a minute ago. I was nervous, like hoping that you'd come on. Glad you did. Really appreciate it. But we always like to start with something because I think it says a lot about not only you as a person, but you as a baseball person. Who was your favorite player growing up, Keith?
It was Bob Gritch. I moved to Atlanta in 1978 from Southern California. And I thought the coolest thing in the world would be to play for the California Angels and play second base, have a mustache, and play with Rod Carew and Doug DeCinces and Disco Dan Ford and Don Baylor. And I thought, man, if I could be Bob Gritch for the rest of my life, it was a close call between Bob Gritch and Fred Lynn. Those two were the guys I thought were the greatest baseball players ever.
I don't know if we're going to get that again this year. I'd be surprised. That's great.
Man. So going back, I played East Marietta. Mm-hmm. You played East Marietta. We saw it all. I mean, it's a cool experience. I really felt like they had, boundaries and real rules and all that kind of stuff. And I personally loved the fact that like you got on a team and you stayed on a team.
Yeah.
Was it that way when you were there?
It was absolutely the thing. I got drafted to the majors as a 9-year-old by Ray Crawford, and Chris Crawford went to Wheeler, and Ray Crawford was possibly the greatest Little League coach I could. Now, Richard Hilton was the grandfather of coaches and led us to the World Series, but Ray Crawford was not only a great man but a great coach, and we practiced in a field across from Eastside Church. That was it was just a forest, and he clear cut it with his truck and would just drag it every day. And it was just a fence in the back, and he would pitch it, and you'd take ground balls and take a couple off the face because it was a rock or this or that. But I was on the Dodgers for 9, 10, 11, 12. And Mark Peixoto was on that team. Scott Peixoto was on that team. And on that Little League World Series team, there was 5 players: Jeff Estes, Kenny Carlson, Nelson Locklear, Mark Peixoto, and myself. And I think Ray Crawford won, I don't know, 8 or 10 championships in a row. So when I get to talk about my baseball experience, the first person that really impacted me was Ray Crawford. He gave me a chance at 9 to play in the majors. He taught me the game. He taught me to be sportsmanlike. To be a gentleman. It's hard to say that at 9 and 10, 11 and 12, but he was just a man of faith that gave everything to East Marietta Little League and didn't expect anything in return. It was such a Superman. It was my honor to play for him, and he's no longer with us, but just an awesome man.
So I'm glad you said that because it kind of brings up some old hard feelings too. But I played as a 10-year-old in the majors, and you probably remember Ernie Morgan and Lynn Cheek.
For sure, the Giants.
Coached the Giants, yeah. So I played on the Giants, and I lost to Chris Crawford.
Yeah, sure.
Danny Nash.
Yeah.
Sean Ruth was on that team.
I lost in the championship game
all 3 years I played in the majors, 10, 11, and 12, lost to the Dodgers every single time. And I still, to this day, Brian Hampton, I don't know if you know Brian Hampton, he was a year younger than me, but he hit a grand slam off me, I think, in my 12-year-old year, and I to this day still remember it because it hurt so bad. But we literally lost to the Dodgers all 3 years.
Pardon? Yeah, and that was a time when there were sponsors. We were the Mead Royal Dodgers. There was it was a heating and air conditioning company, I believe. Mead Royal was
that's great.
Yeah,
we were the Ace Hardware, the Smith Ace Hardware. Yeah, that is awesome. So speaking of sponsors, we're taking any kind of sponsors anybody wants to shoot our way. So, but no, in all honesty. So now let me ask you. So did you guys vote for the All-Star team?
That was the other great thing about East Marietta Little League is that the players voted for the team.
I love that.
And it's hard to empower 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds to make the right decisions, but they did. And it was such an amazing thing when you're a kid that your peers voted you on. And I thought it was really neat because, I obviously made the team as an 11-year-old. And there had been a history of really good teams before me. And I think the year before, when I was 10, they lost in the regional in St. Pete. And the year before that, I think there was guys named Curtis Mitchell and Jim Lane and guys like that really, were really good players that really started making East Marietta one of the great little leagues in Georgia for sure, but the Southeast as well.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think back of that structure. Yeah. I feel like, right now, could you imagine a 10-year-old that is going to go play quote unquote rec ball and have that kind of structure?
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So back when you didn't just pick your team, like you were kind of forced upon this group of kids that live in the same area. Yep. You also didn't just pay to go to the World Series. Now you look back now in the tournaments nowadays, it's, you're paying to go to a tournament that you could become a world champion at, but you really had to earn your way to it, winning, like you said, the district and then the state and then the region, and then you got to go to the World Series. But you didn't know when your season was going to end.
No, it was. I can remember Richard Hilton with our first meeting of the year, the All-Stars, saying, "Hey, we're going to go get a brown pin." And if you remember, there was pins I think red was district and blue was state. I
you got that backwards, but
but white was regional, and we didn't know what the World Series looked like. So he said, "We're going to get a brown pin," and we're like, "Okay." And we had no one. I remember Cody Webster had won the Little League World Series the year before, so it was tangible in our mind. It was something that none of us had thought about it until then. We're like, "Well, guys from America won it the year before. Why not?" And it just was like one of those things. And then we get into the district and we're beating teams like 19-1. And Mark Bichot is hitting a home run when they're intentionally walking him and he's just reaching out and hitting home runs. And
nice.
Then we go to state and we start beating teams pretty good. It's like, wow, this might be a thing.
Pretty good.
Well, and it was a thing. You guys went 15-0. You didn't lose the game.
It was incredible. And now we had the benefit of pitching Mark every other game. There wasn't really any more than 3 games or maybe 4 in a state tournament, but we had the luxury of saying, "Hey, Mark's going to pitch game 1. We're going to win no matter what." And the second game was usually Eric Smith and Joe Hutchison, and they pitched really well and win a ball game. And those players were amazing. It was fun to watch, and I got a bird's eye view on the dugout to watch all of it.
Now, at what point did you realize that there was something special? Was it like you said, you got to state and you said you knew you were going to win game 1, and obviously you guys won them all. But when was it when you really felt like, okay, this is going to be fun?
I think it was in regionals, because in regionals it was in St. Pete and you stayed underneath with all the players in bunk beds and stuff like that. And I think we beat North Carolina, and you might fact check me on this, but it might have been 17-1 or 19-1. I was like, we're in the regionals beating a team 17-1. That's pretty amazing. And so I think our toughest game was against Vienna, Virginia, and we won 5-4, but I don't remember it being that close, quite frankly. It might have been, but my memory doesn't serve me where it was like we were ever on pins and needles. And, so it was like, and then we got to the World Series, like, man, we got a 6-foot pitcher that throws 76 miles an hour from Little League, and he hits bombs, and we had really good athletes everywhere, and it was fun to watch these guys. Adam Olmstead at third. I think he went on to play college basketball at Boston. Eric Smith was a great shortstop who went to Wheeler. Joe Hutchinson played at Sanford at second base. Ken Carlson played first base. I think he played college golf. Mark was our pitcher. Jeff Estes, I think, was a college tennis player. I mean, it was a bunch of great athletes.
It's funny you say that. We had some crazy good athletes on our all-star team too. Yeah. And I think we, JJ Thomas,
good
Chris
Astro
Crawford
right there for you.
Yeah. Chris Crawford, I mean, we had a pretty stacked team. David Smoke, I don't know if you ever heard that name. He was literally was taller than everybody through Smoke. And then there was a kid on our team, and it just dawned on me this week because I'm sure you probably follow most all sports, but the Patrick Manley Award. Do you know who Patrick Manley is?
Yeah, Marist guy who lives right down the street.
So he was on my
Bernard and Patrick Manley, two regrettable brothers that went over there.
He was on my all-star team. So like the team we had too. I mean, you're talking about golf guys, and you're talking about other sport athletes. Like Patrick Manley was a long snapper, like the greatest long snapper there ever was. And they just gave away his Patrick Manley Long Snapper of the Year award to the guy from Georgia. But I mean, just crazy the small area of talent that all came from. And you talking about your memory, like, dude, I love the fact that you remember exactly where you were. I love that to me is exactly what this whole podcast is all about. Like, I mean, we talk with Dave McDonald. I mean, you know him. Yeah. So we talk with him, and I mean, that guy threw back names, Dave. I mean, he was calling out guys from who knows where.
Yeah, counts. We're talking about counts and plays and exact situations from 1982.
We had epic battles with those guys. When you talk about Chris George and Billy Harris and Byron Burris and Steve Kwan, who just passed this year.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
Man,
it was horrible, but it was a good reality for a lot of guys to get back together from those East Cobb teams that were older than me, like Rusty Umfenauer, and David Osada, Rob Doherty from Lassiter, and John Mullen and Mike Martin, and those guys. So it was a bad setting to get back together, but it got people back together, which was
well,
neat.
man. I want to connect with all those guys. Rob Doherty, his little brother, I went to Pope. I played with him at East Cobb. And then you talk about Hutchinson, his little brother played with me at East Marietta, and Kenny Carlson's little brother was graduated with me at Walton. Then you guys, like you said, you went and played on these East Cobb teams, and Quan and Umpenauer. I mean, am I right to say that if Rusty Umpenauer didn't fund a lot of the facilities that we might or might not be talking about this today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Russ Umpenauer is the benefactor of East Cobb baseball. I mean, he made our travel team and made East Cobb what it is. Now, Gary Baldwin had a vision. Gary Baldwin's an amazing coach, an amazing baseball person. Could pick talent, could see talent. But Russ, got us to fly to different areas. We all had 17 different uniforms, which was the new thing in travel baseball. At one point, it was really funny because he had a butler that would come out and cook between our games, and he looked just like Lou Gossett Jr. And other teams were like, "You guys got to cook? What's going on here?" And then we switch uniforms and then beat him 18-1 or whatever it was, and it was just it was amazing for baseball. I remember. When lights went up at Lassiter, when lights went up at Walton, when lights went up at Wheeler, and Russ was a big part of that, and certainly the East Cobb complex altogether. He was, between Gary's vision and Russ, they put us on the map and kept us on the map going forward.
Yeah, another guy that coached, and I don't know, unfortunately, he's not here with us anymore either. But tell me, and I don't have this on my normal questions here, but now we're talking about it. This makes me so happy. Tell me about Tom Poland. I know he coached. Awesome. He coached with you guys. Did he know anything about baseball?
I think he knew some. He didn't know he wasn't Gary Baldwin by any stretch.
Oh,
but
no, for sure.
He was, I think, a great straight man for Gary, because anyone that knows Gary Baldwin knew that he might get thrown out before a pitch even was thrown. And I had that happen when I was 18. He got thrown out before the game even started, which was absolutely amazing. But Tom could.
Hold on. Was it the mustard thing?
No, it was we played in a tournament in Battle Creek, and we played against Todd Van Poppel and the Midland Redskins and the Dallas Mustangs. And Gary at the time, Poland couldn't come, and Jim Britt couldn't come, so we didn't really have a second assistant. And so Gary picked one of the local umpires that apparently he grew friendly with and said, "Hey, I need another coach. Would you come with me?" And he came with us. He drove the van up there, and we had a decent tournament. It wasn't a great tournament. And I think Gary was, I don't know if he was upset about it or not, but the next game we played the next weekend, this guy was umpiring behind the plate, and Gary just started yelling at him and telling him what a horrible coach he was. And the guy was like, "What did I do, Gary? I don't understand what's going on." And Gary just kept into him. And he's like, "All right, Gary, you're gone," and threw him before the game even started, before the pitcher even started warming up. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Did you guys, and we were always told that we had to do it because you guys did it, but did you guys take infield without a ball?
No, that for me was a Bill Moon thing. Bill Moon was my coach at Walton my freshman year, and he came over from University of Central Florida. And as I know it, if you remember the play when Miami faked the pick off to first base and everyone dives and everyone goes nuts.
Oh yeah.
The pitcher still has it and throws it to second. That what we called that Moon over Miami my freshman year. Bill Moon in Urban Legend did that to Miami, and Miami stole it when he was at UCF. So Bill Moon did that. We did that a couple games, but we went to North Cobb and played Harvey Cochran's team, and we're Coach Moon goes, "Okay, pups, we're going to take phantom infield," and everyone's like, "Okay." And we had done it many times. We done it in practice, and people are diving all over the field and turning double plays and pirouetting and throwing the ball, and Harvey Cochran is losing his mind. Like, what is going on? What's happening? And we knew we won the game right then and there, because North Cobb was like, I don't know what just happened, but I don't know what the score was, but we went on to just trounce them, because I don't think they had any idea what we were doing or why we were doing it. But it was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I love that.
Oh.
Do they, Peter, do you know if they still do if these Cobb teams in the championship, do they still do that? I did it when we won the championship when I was 13. We did it. Ryan Butcher was our head coach, and we did it. And where were we?
We don't even do infield. Nobody does infield anymore. It's kind of a sad day now.
This phantom infield was the spring of '87.
I love those
at North Cobb.
Yeah, guys robbing homers.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Guys, Doug Hartwell was our second baseman. He's diving, flipping the ball behind his back, and I'm like, first I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
Sure, yeah. It was just absolutely covered in dirt and everything.
Before the game,
it sets a tone. I love it. I miss
no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Well, we're so glad to have you, Keith. We got Keith Grunewald on the Diamond Roots Baseball podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comment below. Let us know what you remember about the 1983 Little League team, if you remember back then. Where it was for me, in my family, it was kind of a where were you moment. I remember being at my granddad's house, my grandpa's house, watching it in Cleveland, Ohio. And it was just kind of always a cool thing that we always sort of shared with my grandpa. And it was cool. When you guys were there, like actually physically at Williamsport, what was it like? Did you stay in barracks? I mean, you talked about being in the regionals and you were in kind of barracks and stuff like that. Was it host families? I don't know that.
Now it was barracks, and it was military style barracks with the bunk beds, and there was a large pool, and there was a basketball court, and there was a training table or a cafeteria, so you got to eat with the rest of the players and hang out with them. And I think for me, the greatest thing that happened to us was, because we didn't get to play Taiwan or Japan in the championship, we felt a little bit slighted, and ABC actually felt like a little slighted as well, because they preempted our game and didn't have it as a live event on ABC World Sports. They tape delayed it because we were playing the Dominican Republic. But we got to play a wiffle ball game against the Japanese team from Osaka. And it was really neat, because the international language of baseball is just playing baseball, right? It's like you're in your backyard. You don't need to speak the other language. You peg a guy, he's out. You hit a bomb, everyone has a great time and laughs about it, or someone makes a great play. It's that. So it was it was an unbelievable experience. I mean, you think about being 11 and 12 years old and playing in front of 40,000 people and being on ABC Waterville Sports. Unbelievable.
If that's the biggest crowd you probably ever played in front of, huh?
No, for sure. For sure.
Isn't that crazy? You're 11, 12 years old, and the biggest crowd you'll ever play in front of is when you're there. Like,
I laugh with my son and say I peaked at 11 years old. So that's a really tough one.
Well, I'm not going to pile on, but you didn't start. So
I did not.
I mean,
it's true.
Which you joked about. You were like, I was the first one off the bench, and you got to see. You said you had the best seat of the whole thing.
And funny enough, I didn't start most of the years going forward either, which I credit Gary Baldwin and East Cobb Baseball for letting me play up a year and playing with Brett Kennard and Joe Hutchison and Eric Smith and Danny Prago and saying, oh, man, I get to see what these guys do and how they play. And I got to, I didn't sit the bench all the time. I played, but I got to travel with them, watch Mark Pachota pitch the best game I've ever seen in Memphis against the Memphis Tigers, maybe at 1:00 at night. I think he threw a no-hitter and hit 2 home runs. And it was one of those things you're like, that's baseball. I want to do that. I want to emulate that. Yeah. So, it was funny for me because I got to play, but not as often as people want now because people change teams. And I'm going to play for this team. I'm going to play for this team. And I would play with their team most of the year. And then sometimes I go back to the younger team, play with them or whatever. But it was a great experience for me just watching, all those guys that I wanted to be. I wanted to be Danny Prago, who runs 6.43 now. My freshman year in high school, I want to be that guy. And, I ended up being okay and moving on, but that was the guy I wanted to be.
Sure. That's a cool. Great point. That's a great point about, playing up and sitting and watching and learning and actually wanting to emulate those guys that were doing what you wanted to do. Because who knows if you'd never gotten to see those exact guys or some exact play or hear some exact conversations, who knows, where you would have played. Just like a lot of guys today, they are not playing, so they go play somewhere else, right? Certainly. And it just goes to show that, a small decision like that, not necessarily was a decision, but thankfully you were able to stay and wanted to stay and didn't feel however you felt to, go play somewhere else on a lesser team with different coaches and different players, right? That's a big part of,
for sure.
Ball today. So.
Yeah, and I tell many people this. I feel like I'm a product of all the people that came before me. I was fortunate enough to be drafted, as you said, fortunate enough to play North Carolina. And I happen to reap the rewards of the Danny Pragos of the world, the Brett Kennards of the world, because they paved the way for me by playing so well and getting exposure. And then finally people going, man, we ought to recruit from East Cobb a little more. We ought to get these guys. They're pretty good. They're winning World Series left and right. We need more of these guys in baseball.
Well, and the thing about it is I go back to what I said before. You were winning World Series, but you had to qualify for these World Series. These were not like, again, what we think of, and the average person now probably only knows what travel baseball is now. Sure. Most people, that's all they know. But you had to qualify. These were like legit tournaments you had to go and win. And, it's not like that now at all. And I don't think people understand how difficult it was to do some of the things that you guys did.
Yeah. And to your point earlier, our East Cobb was basically Walton, Lassiter, Wheeler, and Sprayberry. And every now and again, you would get Rusty Umfenauer was a Riverwood guy that moved over. You might get a private school guy every now and again, but there might be a Marietta guy in there. But for the most part, it was Wheeler, Walton, Lassiter, and you throw a couple Sprayberry guys in there, and that was that was it. And you're beating everyone in the nation based on three, 4 high schools, which I thought was really impressive.
Incredible. It's incredible. People don't understand. They have no idea. It's crazy.
We talk about we talked about this before the show. The whole point of this podcast is this is what we want to hear. Like, this is why we want to talk to these people like you that can do these sort of things. But like, it really is. What was it? Was it the '83 team? It sounds to me like it was before that. Like, you said something about the Braves being good. And I didn't really think about that was the year. I guess they went 13-0 or 18-0 or something like that to start the season, and they were good. And maybe that is what it was. I don't know, but like, Dave, when I coached you, there was a kid that moved from New Mexico, literally moved from New Mexico. Jerry Bobskis moved from New Mexico to come play East Cobb baseball. That literally is why he moved here as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid. And this was in, what year was that, Dave? 2000?
How old am I? 38. Yeah, that's a sheesh. Yeah, that's about right. That's about 2002.
Yeah. As a kid in 2000 moving here. That's how long this goes back to. Like, I mean, there was a kid my son played with in high school who moved down from New York, and the only reason they moved here from New York was because they wanted to. They were tired of traveling here to play baseball.
Yeah, right. Well, you can look at so many examples. Johnny Magliozzi came down from Boston all the time, but then even look at like the Kyle Davies of the world that lived in Stockbridge, that drove to East Cobb every day, or Jason Hayward from Henry County. I think about that drive every day to get to East Cobb just to play baseball, and it paid off.
Christian White, Peter.
Yeah. He came from.
We had a couple kids from Blairsville. I mean, but still, most of our. I mean, you know, we were a top 2 team in the country, and there was definitely more West Cobb. You know, half of our guys went to Harrison too, or Connecticut Mountain, or we're going to go there. But yeah, I mean, obviously the population's grown a ton. But yeah, I mean, even back then, it was still such a small group. Tori Langley, who was, you know, Alexander, you know, we were playing 13-year-old ball together.
Matt Capps was an Alexander guy too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Jody Meeks, talk about athletes. Jody Meeks was on that team I coached with you guys.
Absolutely.
And he went to
13 NBA, 8 years, at least 8 years in the NBA.
Crazy. I mean, now he played big time college ball at Kentucky. I mean, that was legit. Keith, you played big time college baseball. You got, so take me through. So you go through East Cobb. You guys are kicking ass, right? I mean, you went to Walton all 4 years?
I went to Walton all 4 years, was a second round pick in 1990. And the funny story, to go back to Fred Lynn, when I lived in California in the 70s, the guy that lived behind us was Fred Lynn. So when I played wiffle ball, I hit balls and it would go over the fence, and Fred Lynn would puck his head over and throw it back over. What? In 1990, I was a supplemental pick for the Tigers, losing Fred Lynn in free agency that year, if you can believe that.
That's so cool.
It's crazy.
That is
crazy. Went to North Carolina.
I love baseball.
It's such a small world when you really think about it, right? But went to North Carolina, played 3 years there. I played in Cape Cod for 2 years, won a championship my junior year with the Chatham A's, and was second team All ACC behind Nomar in 1993. So I feel like I at least did something there.
Well, hey, it sounds like you got better. I mean, something happened between. I mean, you said you had the best seat in the whole the World Series. I mean, you had dudes. I mean, Hutchinson was legit, and but what did something happen? Like, how did you get? I mean,
well, I think playing sports. I played 3 sports, and it just when you're playing against great guys. I've told the story to other people that I'm friends with. I was a pretty good baseball player, but I was second team all neighborhood. I lived in Hampton Lake growing up, and I had the Pachotas. So Mark, who played in the big leagues, Scott, who was a second round pick. I had the Williamson brothers. Lee Williamson played on the practice squad for the Houston Oilers, and Matt Williamson played basketball at Citadel. Then I had the Gorsuch brothers. Terry, who played basketball at Emory, and Todd played at Air Force. Terry's the head basketball coach at North Cobb right now. I had Matt Wiley, who played some football, Ace Atkins, who played some football, Whitney Fight, and then the neighborhood over was Chuck Carswell, who played football at Georgia and Miami Dolphins, and then Shad Santee, who played football at NC State. So I was just exposed to just unbelievable athletes that it was like either keep up or go home, right? You take your ball and go home. So I think that was like, I think the adage is iron sharpens iron, and you're like, okay, that does. You get better when you play against better competition.
Absolutely. I think that's a big part of it, growing up, having those guys that, older guys and bigger guys, or, just more athletic guys, like you said, you just gotta figure out a way to do it. Right. And, and that just molds you into figuring out how to get better no matter what.
Well, you guys have seen this. It's sometimes the younger brothers are always the better players because they're fighting for the meal. They're fighting to play with their brothers. I didn't have brothers, but I had these older guys in the neighborhood. So I felt like I was trying to earn my keep and earn their respect.
Dude,
and
that is so awesome. That is exactly what this is all about. I mean, like literally, like I get goosebumps. I'm not kidding you. This is so cool because I'm glad to sort of be able to catalog these stories because this is awesome. I mean, the list of athletes that you're rattling off that lived in we talk about how East Marietta is in a. I mean, you're half a neighborhood away from somebody, and you're listing off literally and I hate to sound like what it is now, but D1, 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 D1. I mean, this is legit athletes in multiple sports. I mean, it's crazy.
High school Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I'm still only second team all neighborhood. It was horrible.
Right, it's crazy. Well, I think you were second team all ACC, weren't you?
I was, behind Nomar, Garcia Parra.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just that's
that had to be a tough team, man.
Yeah, they were good. Tech was really good, and it was a bunch of East Cobb guys too. It was Brian Allier, Pashota, and I think Danny Radovian was there, and Brandon Hensley was there, and some other guys, and it was always fun to play those guys.
Yeah,
that's cool. Now, you get drafted by the Tigers
out of high school. Yes,
not now because you're an agent and you understand all this like on a way different level. But like as a high schooler, not signing, being 54th overall, I got drafted out of high school too. But there aren't even close to as many rounds as it was when I got drafted. I mean, I think literally when I got drafted, you could have as many rounds as you wanted if you wanted to keep picking because there was, just whatever. It's not like that anymore. And it was sort of like that when you did it. But I mean, you were third round, second round. I mean, 54th overall. Like that's legit. Like what happened there? Was it?
It was the economics of baseball. So it was I think I was the third high school shortstop taken that year, and the first one was Chipper. So I felt like I was a decent
number
company.
one. Yeah, right.
And then Tony Clark was number two, the union head of the union. But I think if I recall the numbers correctly, Chipper signed for $375. I could be wrong, and I think Tony signed for $500. But think about that: the first pick in the draft signed for $375,000. And last year the first pick was $11 million. So the economics were just so much different. The best offer I got wasn't close to that. And truthfully, I thought, if I go to North Carolina, pardon me, and get a great education and play well, Walt Weiss had gone there, BJ Surhoff had gone there, pardon me. And I thought, I'll be another good pick. And I didn't play as well as I probably ought to. And went later in the draft, but still got an opportunity with the Rockies and enjoyed my time with them.
Having already gone through the process.
Yeah.
Right. And then being a later round pick.
Sure.
What was the difference? Was obviously there was probably about the same kind of money. I mean, the way that money was progressing in big leagues.
It was smaller for sure, but it actually, without knowing it, it led me into my profession, what I'm doing now, because, when I sat with the Tigers in 1990, I had, my dad in the room, my mom in the room, my grandmother, my sisters, my high school girlfriend. We didn't know what we didn't know. And Gary York was a wonderful man and the Tiger scout. And he said, "Hey, I'm gonna offer your dad some money. I'm gonna go out to the car. I'll write it up. It wasn't computers. They would just write it up." And he said, "And then we'll send you off to Bristol, Tennessee, and you'll go live in a trailer and play in the Appalachian League." And I was like, "Oof." University of North Carolina, trailer in the Appalachian League. And he offered $35,000.
Oh,
and
God, okay.
My dad was like, "Hey, Gary, get out of my house, and don't come back till you've got an offer that resembles, what buying him out of the University of North Carolina might look like." But we didn't know what that looked like. We didn't know how to play the game. We didn't know that most teams would just start that way, progress all the way to the end of the summer. Right before you go to school, they would make an offer. As you guys know, they could sign you up until the day you went to school. There was no signing day or anything like that. So if you're on quarters, you could go later. If you're on semesters, whatever. So the Tigers were just doing their job, and it just became not antagonistic, but just not warm and fuzzies. And so it was one of those things like, man, I've got this scholarship to North Carolina. What a great place! They had been number one in the nation the year before. They'd play. They lost to Georgia, go to the World Series. So all the Georgia coaches really gave me a whole lot of ribbing the entire summer before that, because they're like, "Hey, you could have come here, man." But they played on ESPN like 3 times at Boardwalk and Baseball, and they had an opening at shortstop, and I was going to be plugged in. And I thought, what a great opportunity to play in the ACC, play at North Carolina, get the education there, to go play in the Cape. I had aspirations to play for Team USA. I wasn't good enough, but all those things were in my head that, hey, I'll be good enough in 3 years to be the same pick. Didn't happen, and that's okay. And that's, life leads you in different directions, right?
Absolutely.
Well, dude, this is awesome. I can't say, Keith, how happy I am that you're here with us.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I get to talk baseball in Cobb County. I mean, I've had some of the fondest memories You know, we talk about all these old names, and Peter, I remember watching you in high school. That was fun for me. You know, like to go back.
So I'm gonna have to tell you this because because this has gone the way it has, and it's way better than I could have expected. I want to tell you a story, and I told Dave this story earlier, and I was like, I can't bring this story up, but I'm gonna bring it up just because you're awesome, and I have to tell you this. It was about January. We were trying out for Walton High School. You came up there. You were a big dick guy. Like, I mean, it was like, oh shit, there's Keith Grunewald. It was literally that's what. And I was like, well, who? Like, I didn't know. I didn't know. I knew the name, but like, I didn't know the draft picks. Like, that was not even on my radar. Not even close. And we were hitting into the net, and I don't know if you remember, they had just built kind of that barn on the first base side, and we were hitting in there, and you fucking walked in there, dude. And
little did you know, huh?
Yeah. You were like, picked up the ball, put it on the tee, and you fucking just like smoked one inside. You batted left-handed, right?
I switched it, yeah. I most likely rolled over it to second base. If you probably
you did,
if you really looked at it,
and you took this big hack, hit the ball in the hard as shit in the net. I mean, yeah, you were a fucking giant compared to me, but it was like you hit that ball in the net, and you said, I can't believe I'm telling you this story. You said, right there, sweet swing, huh? And you just flipped your bat down and walked off, and I was like, what in the hell did I just see? I was like,
it's kind of embarrassing. I'm hoping I'm not that guy.
That's why I was so nervous. Like, I literally was so nervous. And dude, you are awesome. I literally can't. I mean, this is awesome.
I appreciate your humor.
No. I mean,
it's great. Got him drafted, Keith. You got Peter drafted with that swing right there. Gave him something to live up to. Yeah. There you go.
Oh man, but the funny thing is after that, I went and figured out who you were. Yeah. And I honestly, to tell you all the truth, I'd never thought I'd ever see you or talk to you again.
No.
And
I hate
like
to
you
hear
said,
that,
the baseball world is so small. It's so crazy.
Small. Yeah.
But like to be able to tell you that story and like hear your story, like, I mean, and I didn't know honestly, I didn't know at the time that you were on the World Series team. I knew you were on the monuments at East Cobb. Like I knew the name. I mean, so those three monuments that you guys, I mean, literally, I think it was what, Babe Ruth, Pony, and I don't know what the other one was, but I mean, you guys were awesome. You said Radovian. I played with little Alex Radovian. I mean, so
as I said, those guys in front of me, when you put a pitching staff together that was Mark Pachota, Chris George, Mike Hostetler. Right. You can't. I don't know how anyone beat those guys. I mean, those are just three, and then you had plenty of guys after those guys. But Chris George was maybe the best lefty I ever faced in high. I was like, oh my god, this guy's 11 feet tall, throws 1,000 miles an hour, and I can't hit him. And then Mike Hostetler was just arms everywhere coming, and it's just amazing.
Mike was my first ever private pitching coach.
Yeah,
ever. I don't know. Yeah. I was 12, 13 years old. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he was awesome. I think he would have probably pitched in the big leagues had he not got hurt. But that's a story of a lot of players. As we all know too well, unfortunately.
I don't know how I feel about this. I've always I don't want to make this an East Cobb baseball show because it was more than just East Cobb. No. And it was there was Sandy Plains and there was East Side and there was legit other competition. It wasn't just East Cobb baseball.
Well, I happened to come to a time when in 85, that's when East Side and East Marietta came together to form East Cobb. So East Side sort of went away for a couple of years. But in Little League, it was always East Marietta and East Side, and who went.
Well, so East Side wasn't Little League though. Like that wasn't
they
real
weren't.
Little League.
I think they were
like Dizzy Dean or whatever.
Dizzy Dean or something like that. Yeah.
So did you played Little League? And I would always, and I tell people all the time, I always recommend Little League. I feel like it is a really tries to keep the game pure, and it's not all about winning and all the things. And again, I still believe in winning the tournaments to get to a tournament. Like it's but what Gary Baldwin did was crazy. I mean, and I don't want to make, like I said, I don't want to make it a anti or pro Gary Baldwin thing, but like you mentioned it, he was on both ends. I mean, he was highly revered in the fact that he won, And I feel like he also had a crowd that didn't like him.
Yeah. Well, he rubbed people the wrong way. Certainly,
he was gruff.
Not me. He was great.
He coached
for
me in 8th grade basketball.
He coached Walton 7th or 8th grade basketball. George Mangus was a 7th grade coach. And Gary was the 8th grade coach. And I remember smoking cigarettes, just sitting outside with the door open, going, "Run it more." Okay.
Oh, I'm telling you, like, it was crazy. But like I guess the vision, I think you said earlier, I mean, his vision for it, I guess, or maybe Umpenauer's vision for it, but really Gary's at the time. Yeah. But he didn't really give a shit. Yeah. Like he didn't care if you liked him or not. No. I was really good.
Yeah. He liked good players. He liked good players, and he liked tough players. And he would try to get under your skin to see if you were tough. I mean, I don't know if you guys had the same experiences, but we would have either 2 or 3, of the vans that were, customized, that had the captain's chairs and then the bench in the back.
See, I never got pimped out like that. Like,
so that's how we would go to different tournaments, and we play cards in the back, and they'd be on the CB back and forth, him and Tom Poland, and be like, this player, he was horrible. And you're like in the back seat, like, oh God, he's talking about me. Oh no, whatever. But I think he was just testing people to see how tough you were mentally.
But see, I don't know. I played when his son played.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he was not better than me. He probably had a better arm than me, all the kind of things. But like it was an uphill battle for me no matter what with Gary.
Sure.
So I sort of resigned to the fact, and I feel like my year was when they really started another team.
Yeah.
Shane Monahan, you remember Shane Monahan?
Yeah. I know Shane very well.
He was kind of that.
He was awesome at Wheeler and Clemson. And
dude,
well,
crazy,
unbelievable.
I feel like that it was the last group of real, like the first and only team. Well, there was an Astros. Oh gosh, sorry. Yeah. There was an Astros team.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it became more than just the Astros.
Yeah.
I had a coach. His name was Gene Doobie.
Gene Doobie was awesome at East Marietta Little League. He was 2 or 3 years older than me. He was awesome. He was one of those guys that when you're 9 or 10, you're like, who's that hitting bombs? It's Gene Doobie.
Yeah. I mean, he was my coach at East Cobb, and we were kind of the first, second team.
Yeah.
And dude, we were scrappy as hell. Like but like Gary, I mean, I just know Radovian and all those guys played above me, and they were on Gary's team. And then before you know it, they went and played in a tournament in Knoxville, and now the Knoxville Stars shortstop is on your team and not you. Yeah. And it was like, or the right fielder or the right-handed pitcher. And so all of a sudden, Gary just sort of gathered this team, and just as they went along, they just picked up the best players back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's
it didn't happen like to us. That was lucky enough for us. It was just, hey, here's your team and go. But it has evolved into, hey, best players play, and it's a transactional team for sure.
Do you ever remember, like, David? I'm going to ask you this too. I'll ask you this first, Dave. Do you ever remember like money, like talking about money, like with your parents, as a player growing up, like
going to play for East Cobb and stuff?
Yeah.
The first year, just because I played at West Cobb, I was an Oregon Park guy. I was a rec ball guy, right? And then we had the first ever travel team over there. And then, we had a pretty good year, and I wanted to go play on a better team. So that's when I went over to East Cobb. It was my first ever tryout over there. And, it was like, I think it was $100 to try out. And, if you made the team, obviously it went to your team fee. But after that, no. I mean, my parents, they probably just wouldn't have talked about it. They would have just made sure we could have, we figured it out, But no, not when I was playing. And I never had to worry about that, or it was never brought
Keith,
up to me.
Do you ever, like, was that ever a thing at your house?
If it was, my parents didn't talk to me about it. The only thing I remember is when you got little envelopes with $5 in them, or $5 for $5 a meal, and they would hand out $5 for breakfast, $5 for lunch, $5 for dinner, and that was. But either my parents shielded me from it, or we didn't talk about it. They didn't say, hey, it's. This is hard for us or not. They just made it happen one way or the other.
Yeah. I don't ever remember like East Cobb. I don't remember my parents. Now I do remember in high school. High school was a deal.
Dugouts
We went
clubs
to Walton, and bro, it was like a whole new world. And my parents were like, "Oh hell no! You can drive and you can get a job.
Yeah.
This is coming out of your pocket." But it was crazy. I mean, I remember it was $1,000, and that was a big deal back then. But it was $1,000, I think, to play baseball at Walton. I think it was to even try out. Like, I mean, that's where the whatever bullshit came up, and it was like, you got to raise this money before you try out. Like, I mean, come on, what are we doing?
At Walton, there was always, it was the touchdown club, into the tip-off club, into the dugout club, and my parents would always say, the minute Keith's done, we'll pay, but not until then. So if he's playing football, we'll play football. But because I always remember, George Pachot, I think, was always the treasurer somehow, some way.
Right.
Always hey, let's go.
Right, man. So I'm trying to think. So you got drafted again after UNC.
No, I was a 12th round pick, but
I mean, I look back. I mean, I think there's 20 round picks that their names.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think
like
that year
we all know their names.
50 some odd rounds that year, and that was the running joke about baseball is that some GMs and presidents' daughters were drafted, but because they were like, we'll just pick until we're done. But yeah, I had a wonderful experience with the Rockies.
That's when I got picked.
Yeah,
it's about the time I got picked. So
you got picked in the 50th, right, Peter? 40th?
No, it was later than this. I think it's 70.
You got picked, man. That's a big deal.
70 something.
It
70
happened.
something.
It happened.
But I'll say this. Now, not that I was going to go. Like, there was never a question that I was going to go. But I did get drafted when the strike happened.
Yeah.
So basically literally zero communication from anybody.
Right.
It was kind of a weird. I got a letter from Jeff Wren. I'm sure you know Jeff Wren. Yeah. He's the guy who actually drafted me. But got a letter from him, and it was just basically like, congratulations. Like, there was never a whole lot of people like, oh, why didn't you go? I'm like, bro, I there was no communication from anybody.
There's nowhere to go.
I got a letter in the mail, and I think I still have it somewhere. I got a letter in the mail that basically spelled out what the strike was about, and it was this massive document that I was like, what? What? I don't know what this is. And so like I said, people say, oh, why didn't you go? Why didn't you do it? And I'm like, well, there was no option. Like, I don't even know what I was ever supposed to do. So nobody ever really contacted me after that.
Stadium. You show up with your piece of paper.
I'm ready, fellas. Let's go.
I literally wrote
spikes around your neck, just ready to go.
I wrote Jeff Wren, and I said to him, I never got a response, which whatever, it is what it is. But I wrote him a letter. It was like, dude, I'll run a camp. Like, I'll just shag balls. I just want to put on a Marlins uniform so I can say that I put on a freaking big league uniform.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even care. Like, it didn't matter because the strike and the basically were saying you can't do anything, but they were still running like camps and stuff. I was like, dude, I literally will go do this. Like, I just want to just give me one big league uniform. That's all I want.